Hello. Okay, so I just want to thank everybody for coming out and obviously making it back from lunch in time to listen to my talk. The topic today is going to be, blockchain gaming in 2023. Here's a rough outline. It's basically going to be talking about, the evolution of the industry, kind of like where we were in 2022, and then kind of like what's the next pit forward. This is where I establish credibility and talk about how I've worked in the industry for a while and stuff. But hopefully my actual talk holds up. So yeah, first, I think we're trying to figure out as an industry is why blockchain. I think almost anybody in this room, at least hopefully, can name like 20 things that are improvements over Web 2. Some friction reduction, transparency, all these nice things. But I think that we haven't quite found the holistic product market fit yet. So that's kind of what the point of this talk is. So up until early 2022, there was this whole play to earn movement. Like, yay, we have this transparency, we have this scarcity. We can kind of like see it on the blockchain. You have this token creation and the ability to transfer that value around. So the minute you have some level of creating a value for players, then you can like kind of have this play to earn. You can like have this incentive model and get people excited about your game and kind of bootstrap excitement. The problem is people got really excited about the token creation part, and that it has a certain incentive for players where they start potentially not playing your game for authentically. And that creates a really volatile environment around a game experience where it becomes less about the game experience and it more becomes around, just the earning experience. And then they'll just move if there's some other earning experience that is just more. So that's more or less dead. People are iterating on the exact tokenomics of it to try to make it more sustainable. And especially the kind of what we moved to the beginning of the year is partially a rebrand, but partially, like this recognition that the base layer needs to have value, which is kind of play and earn. So the idea is there's just like some passive yield while you have your fun experience anyway. And I would say that's kind of on life support because one, there's just a stigma around NFTs, around blockchain games. So I don't think it's necessarily to the average player, like really getting them like 10x better, because that's typically what you have to do in order to uproot an industry. Is really 10x better the previous solution. So I'd argue that while this can work, this is mostly like a pip away from Steam. This is still marketplaces. This is still I get an item, I can transfer it back, and that can feel good, but you kind of have to make the argument that players feel so good about like being able to trade it back after they're done that adds value to the ecosystem. Because otherwise, you're not really adding value to any ecosystem in this play and earn model. If your game is fun, it's going to be fun. Either the trading can add some value to some people. Some people do get enjoyment out of that, but you basically have to say that's 10x better in order to uproot Steam or one of these other providers that already provide marketplaces themselves. So you're not even really 10x better that way. So the point of this talk is kind of like what is possible? Okay, well, if I'm making the argument that maybe marketplaces and just like these yielding economies aren't the way, what are the other things? Like, so we started moving towards this ecosystem value creation, play and own. But we can talk about the monetization layer, but my days at Riot, we almost always talked about player value. And nothing in the game directly monetized. It was only just skins. And the idea was just that you have players value your experience so much that they're interested in like displaying how much they value your experience by making sure that you can show that they have personalized, show that they're contributing, show that they're part of this community. And I think that's what Play and Own is starting to recognize. It's because it's free upfront, and the game maker only really gets the value creation if the players value it already. So I think this is all really about how to redefine ownership in this digital world. Okay, let me just make sure. Okay, so if I buy a physical good, like say if I buy like football cleats, like the World Cup's going on right now, I don't know about anybody in here, but I don't buy my football cleats to resell them. I've never done that before. I buy my football cleats for the utility of them. I can change the laces. I can change the studs. I could get somebody to sign them. I can play the game however I want. I don't have to worry about breaking them. I can do foolish things with them. I can lose them. I don't have to worry about some rental model or giving them back or getting approval for things. So obviously that's not the exact same thing in the digital world, but that, to me, there's some, what are the digital things that mimic that behavior? Because we can totally do those things. So the first things that I think we're starting to see now are these cross-platform behaviors, which I'll get into. Community events where the communities actually can give real-world items or give real-world implications and write that to the same database that the game is writing to. It's a pretty powerful concept. So like if the result of a game is, win-loss, whatever, and something else calls that, I can call that information and maybe add to it in some way. That's something else that the community is making also adds to. So I'll get into that a little bit later, but like this ability for the community to add to the same data as the game itself is, and the community to create value with that is a pretty remarkable thing that's really hard to do today. Because the game has to expose all that, and they don't really have a common interface to do that. There's also a bunch of other things like ease of development. Once you have these standards, you can get like liquidity all around the world, and people know how to interface with it. And yeah, you have like community contributions, which are things like user-generated content. It's much more transparent how value creation will get back to everybody. You all may have seen the other day, Solana has a Discord integration now where you can kind of show your roles and you can do a bunch of gated access to channels and roles instantly. And there's some fun case studies here. So it's like, who am I? Today, if I'm running a community event and I want to have a bunch of people to sign up, I'm not really guaranteed that those people who they say they are. So typically, if there's like a really high value thing, you either have to have a long standing relationship with the people, or you like get in game and they kind of like jump around and you're like, okay, yeah, that's you, that's cool. But now you could just do it right away. You don't. The game itself doesn't have to do a special integration with Discord. It doesn't have to. You can know who people are, and then the Discord server has a certifiable way to, manage roles, certify the members, put them in the right channels, give them voice access, all those things. You can just create an entire bot ecosystem on top. And so I would say 2022 is about a lot of these accrual of logos in the industry and all these exciting things that could happen. But now these integrations are happening. So that same interface that I was talking about, Instagram, Twitter, Discord, your community management can now spread across platforms. Things like Twitch extensions, all these things are coming, And so these are the way that you can add value to your ecosystem that was hard in Web3. And these are going to create user experiences that are hard in Web3 or nigh impossible. Or sorry, in Web2. There's another example I really like to give as a former raid leader myself, is you would kill this boss. And then there'd be a loot drop. And then this poor soul has to figure out how everybody's going to get the items. There's 5 items dropped. You have 20 people in the raid. Who's going to get what? Well, you can usually, MMOs have maybe a roll system that you can do. So everybody rolls a dice and you get it. Or you just have to trust that raid leader to divvy up those items the way they want. And some games maybe have some more complex logic, but the idea is these players are completely either dependent on that raid leader or the game itself to program exactly what the community wants. That's a pretty constrained model. I mean, you have World of Warcraft that's been out, 25 years now, and they don't really have really complex infrastructure for this. And that really constrains how communities are managed and how, even pugs, how you get random people to come in, because they don't really have a way of knowing what they're going to get from that raid. It's really hard to get random people that are actually skilled and think it's worth their time. But insert Web3, you can have it go right into code, and everybody can see what's actually going to happen. You don't have to trust an individual. You don't have to, it can be certifiable how that guild operates. So if I'm a random player, I'm like, oh yeah, I know that I'm going to be just the same as everybody else in this raid, or maybe they even give an incentive for people who randomly take their time and put into this raid group, so you can actually have that incentive. And this is just a very basic idea here. This is just the start. Like I can think of like entire leagues that form, entire industries that form around like making some experience around this more positive, so you can even have like better outcomes, more organized groups, more organized creation of like fun things around a game. And the cool thing is that smart contract doesn't need to be written by the game maker. All they need to do is just mint the stuff as NFTs into a known location, and the community can try to figure out the rest. So this is just giving up just a little bit of control of your game, and then you can get all this, let your community add value with it. So there's other things about this. So I've talked a lot about how to create value with your players. Let them help you. Think of how communities can help themselves. So we've already started with marketplaces. That's kind of what we're kind of, a lot of even DApp chains are just marketplaces, basically. They just constrain themselves to that. But I think that we really can start thinking about monetizing even down the stack. So trait trading, when I was talking about changing out my laces or changing out my studs for my football cleats, on Solana has at least 3 standards that you can do that, and you can earn income off of detaching and reattaching, like pieces of, say you don't like the mustache or you don't like the hat that your character is wearing, you can change those out, or like the hair color, you can just attach, reattach. Token swaps. So if you're creating all this value in your game, you can just kind of people are just joyously spending, like because this is again you want people to joyously, happily be consumers and happily spend into your game, just taking a little bit of money each time. So it's not this situation where you're forcing them to feel like they have to buy in. You're just have a more collaborative relationship because you're just taking some of the value that you're generating. The other nice things that are kind of going on is you can buy this, you can do this feeless Solana. So obviously Solana has really low fees, but you can actually make it so that it's feeless for your users. They can just pay with whatever token, either USDC or whatever native token of your thing. And so you can buy these really good user experiences, and you can actually add a little extra fee in yourself underneath, or whatever you want to do. You can pay it for them, and there's like a lot of monetization opportunities there. And then all the community stuff I was just talking about, there's certifiable ways to also like make that collaborative with your players. From the UGC to the events, you can take a certifiable cut of those events. All right, so I talked a lot about cross-platform in the sense of social media and community events, but there's also a very large platform that is been in the news a lot lately. Like iOS particular has really been figuring out and have been really restrictive on the NFT policies. And we saw this coming. If you have an entire industry that wants to be consumer facing, you kind of have to be on mobile. I mean, how many of you have already checked your phone during this first 15 minutes, And so what we're producing is actually just a stack. It's a software stack. It's open source. So the idea is that you can securely, in the secure element of the phone, it's called the secure enclave. It's a very secure way of people being able to take their keys on mobile with them. And there's also just these really simple, like user-friendly things where you can have a ledger that backs up the keys at home. So they never have to be involved in token creation. They don't have to do a bunch of crazy things like that. But they have this very secure, user-friendly way of having wallets on mobile. The other nice thing is there's going to be this wallet adapter makes it so it's a universal interface across all the apps. So like right now when you're making an app, you probably have to make your own wallet, or you have to pass it, do some sort of redirect between like MetaMask or Phantom or whatever app for your chosen blockchain. But you never want to send somebody off your app as a game maker. So you're basically choosing between this less secure experience that isn't tied to anything else, which makes it really hard for your users to get liquidity with you, or this redirect experience, which isn't very user-friendly. This fixes both those problems because now you have the same wallet across all of your apps on your phone. You just, for the user, it's just, yeah, I just bought my USDC, or whatever game token, or Solana, and I'm good to go across all my apps. If I accrue an item in a game, I can now display it directly on Instagram without having to figure out how to connect all the wallets. All the stuff that I just talked about with Discord and across platforms, instantly on mobile, I can now connect it across all the apps. This is a very user-friendly, secure, fun experience. And this is where you start really competing against Web3, competing against Web 2. Everything I just said is actually kind of hard to do in Web 2. How do I just accrue a game and then everybody across all these platforms know how to interface with that item and know how to token gate me and across these different platforms? So this is where our minds should be going. How do we create this value within our experiences? So this all sounds great. What are the trade-offs? One of the trade-offs is that the manufacturers have to secure the secure enclave. The wallet adapter works on Android and soon to be iOS, so there's going to be a pretty smooth flow from the wallets and back, but sharing across apps and having these really smooth flows does require the phone itself to enable cryptographic signing in the seed vault. All of our phones that we're sitting here today, I'm sure we're technologically advanced. They do have one, and there's cryptographic signing, just not blockchain cryptographic signing. So it's not a far step for these manufacturers to implement these things. It's honestly just like basically a download. If anybody's from a phone manufacturer here, check out solanamobile.com. But until that happens, we're displaying demand by producing the Saga phone. So the Saga phone has, I don't know, 7,000 paid pre-orders and something like 55,000 pre-registers. And once that gets displayed demand, I think that opens up a lot of the industry where big manufacturers are going to come on board, and there are multiple chains and multiple interfaces. And so as an industry, we can move user-friendly experiences on the mobile. And that's what I'm trying to, that's what we're trying to get everybody in here today is thinking. How do we, as an industry, make user-friendly mobile, Yeah, so it's really exciting times from 2023, I think. The other things, on a technical side, I think ZK technology is both over and undersold in certain ways. I think the ZK ZK tech, privacy, being able to bundle and kind of assure kind of anti-cheat stuff, all this stuff around identity. I don't know, I'm traveling a lot, right? And so the fact that every single time I have to give my passport, I'm also giving my address, my exact age, all this stuff about me. I kind of want to just show people I'm a US citizen, Yeah, but that stuff's really, really interesting. You can start, and then you can gamify that. What if I can prove something about my achievement, and but I don't want to display the area that I did, that I got that achievement in some sort of journey-based game. I can maybe just sell that information of where that thing is without having to make a YouTube video on it. That's the only real way that I can monetize off that now. I have to make some sort of content, a blog or a YouTube video or something like that. But this gives a way for your community to earn value by just creating value and doing fun things within your game. And you can have transparency on how you can share value with those players, with those things. So anyway, I think ZK tech is really interesting. Oh, and then all the DAO management or community management that can figure out how to do votes and stuff, where you can, it's typical stuff that you do today where you know they voted but you don't necessarily know what their vote was, and that can make a much more user-friendly experience around voting. I'm a little less bullish on the ZK rollups. There's just so many intermediary steps, it adds a lot of overhead. That I don't think it really provides the user experience in any real time frame. But I do think the rollups are really interesting for anti-cheat and maybe even doing the more peer-to-peer game stuff. I don't think that's a 2023 thing though. The other thing is I think guilds, we're going to start seeing them really transition from earning guilds, extraction guilds, to more skill-based guilds. So I've mentioned tons of things today about community engagement and community organizing, and I think that's really where guilds are going to go. They're going to guilds are going to be teaching players how to create value and how to do interesting things, how to find fun things for other players that those other players then want to just buy those things. They want to be consumers. And that's, I think, what guilds are going to move towards. I don't know if I can play this. Anyway, it's fine. I want to leave with one, like, maybe positive thing. This has actually happened already. So in Dota 2 auto chess, which turned into one of the most popular genres in the world, matchmaking happened on a really jank website that wasn't even attached. And everybody just had to believe that this was the matchmaking system of the game. And if this would have been on blockchain, it would have been way easier. Everybody would have been able to see it, and everybody would have been certified into matches. So this isn't that outlandish what I've talked about today. It's basically already happened. And this is a very large game. So yeah, anyway, that's my talk. Thank you.